You need to understand how organizational dysfunction impacts users on your website. Here's why. Hey everybody, Eric Enge here. With me today is Brian Weiss. Say hi, Brian.
Hello.
So Brian is a managing marketing consultant here at Proficient who helps us in the areas of technical SEO and also content programs. Actually, a lot of our different digital marketing programs. So thanks for joining me today, Brian.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, wanted to talk a little bit about organizational dysfunction. And the question is, what kind of symptoms on a website might actually give you a clue about what kind of organizational dysfunction is going on in your company?
Well, there's a lot of them, but they kind of fall into two major classes that are somewhat related. The first is disconnected experiences, or just difficult to find things on the site. So especially if the people who work there don't know how to find everything and have to do a Google search, that's a pretty good sign that maybe your users would find it hard to navigate to things.
Sure.
The other thing is sort of seeing lots of sort of half-realized visions or pages where it looks like it went up, it was a big priority at some point, and then it was forgotten about. I also refer to this as the graveyard of past shiny objects.
Awesome. Probably a place where you don't want to be, would be my guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certainly both common symptoms on the enterprise site, on enterprise sites. But what do you think the common causes are?
Well, I think it's a little bit easier to diagnose with the disconnected experiences. Usually that's reflected by disconnection within the organization or organizational silos. So you need to make sure that your website reflects your user needs and not your organizational structure, or like what's convenient for you to produce from a department basis.
Got it. So I love the way you talked about this, or the phrase you had about this. So tell me about the graveyard of past shiny objects.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing there is a lack of clear, consistent vision that's communicated across the organization. And what happens is the internal feedback loops within the organization are not really functioning properly. Ideally, you'd be getting bottom-up feedback from across the org, and then leadership synthesizes that into a top-down vision that gets communicated to everybody so we're all on the same page. And a lot of times, vision that lacks that bottom-up input is disconnected from reality, and it's likely to fail. And you also get lack of commitment to push through challenges or initial failures, since nobody's that confident in it. People can see that my feedback wasn't part of this, and this just seems like another thing that's being shoveled to us without a lot of thought. And also without enough time to plan properly quite often. And really, without much time for testing as well.
Yeah, I think what we see a lot is because of organizational silos, you might have the marketing department that's really big into pushing microsites for some marketing promotion program, and then they do a great job and gets a lot of press, and they get 1,000 really good high quality links, and then they abandon it. And this is just one of many examples, as you know, but it's a good one because all that wonderful press and link juice, if you like to use that term, is just wasted. It's laying fallow here, bringing no benefit to the rest of the website. And just by making a subfolder on the site, you could have actually captured all that value to the site. So there's one example for you.
Yeah.
But what should you do, really, if your organization has these kind of problems?
Yeah, so it depends on your position within the organization, but if you're not somebody who has like a cross-department influence or purview, there's really three things that you want to document and try to bring up the chain to get results. So one is document instances of bad user experience. Another is loss of potential revenue that usually gets attention. And the third one is that your competitors are doing it better. That's another thing that tends to get people's attention, even if
it does get people riled up, doesn't it?
Yeah. you won't be able to improve everything at once, but if you can pick your battles, make sure you're doing this on things you're really confident will really make a difference, you can start impacting change and having more influence on the organizational dynamics.
And if you're somebody who already has influence in the organizations, sometimes it can be helpful to bring in a third-party agency to bridge organizational silos and help construct a sound and cohesive vision for you. And actually, that external authority is often very helpful in getting management, more senior management, to buy into what you're trying to do, and you get other perspectives into the mix, which is valuable.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing to consider is implementing a set of governance principles and procedures. So the goal isn't to create bureaucracy, but you want to have a set of shared expectations across the organization on how, when, and why content gets added to the site.
Right. It's also helpful to look at the goals and incentives across the entire organization. Make sure people are incentivized to work together. We've seen some great examples, for example, where the social media team for a site was gold one way, and then the SEO team wanted to get the social media team's help, and they couldn't because the goals of the social media team were a complete cross purposes for what might have been a better, broader organizational objective. So you got to get those goals aligned.
Yeah, and if you can get everybody on the same page, working in the same direction, it can be really powerful.
Yeah, that's right. But it isn't easy to turn around a big cargo ship or an aircraft carrier, if you prefer that analogy. So the best time to start is now. Yeah. Well, thank you, Brian. And if you like this episode of Here's Why, please click on the subscribe button below and turn on the notification so you won't miss any of our future episodes.